The distress signal came from the edge of the Valari system, weak and flickering like a dying star. Captain Marcus Webb leaned forward in his command chair aboard the human exploration vessel Horizon's Promise. His brow furrowed as the translated message played through the bridge speakers. "Help us. Our ship is dying. The children. Please, someone help the children." The voice belonged to a Thelrani, one of the tall, blue-skinned beings from the distant Thelran collective. Humanity had only made contact with them 2 decades ago, and the relationship between their species remained cold and distant. The Thelrani viewed humans as primitive creatures, too young in the cosmos to be trusted. They kept their distance, trading only when necessary and speaking to human diplomats with barely hidden contempt. "Sir," said Lieutenant Chun from the sensor station, "I am detecting a damaged vessel about 3 light hours from our position. Life signs are very weak." The ship appears to be a Thelrani passenger transport. Marcus did not hesitate. "Set course immediately. Maximum speed." His first officer, Commander Elena Vasquez, raised an eyebrow. "Captain, the Thelrani have made it very clear they do not want human interference in their affairs. If we approach their vessel without permission, it could create a diplomatic problem." "There are children on that ship," Marcus said simply. "I do not care about politics when lives are at stake." The Horizon's Promise arrived at the damaged Thelrani vessel to find a scene of terrible tragedy. The transport had been struck by a rogue asteroid, tearing through its hull and destroying most of its systems. Environmental controls were failing. Power was almost gone. Of the 47 Thelrani who had been aboard, only 12 survived, and all of them were children. The adults had given their lives to protect the young ones, sealing them in the safest compartment of the ship and sacrificing their own oxygen to keep the children breathing. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, the ship's chief medical officer, worked quickly to stabilize the young Thelrani as they were brought aboard. The children ranged in age from what would be 5 to 15 years old in human terms. They were scared, cold, and confused. They had just lost everything they knew. "Their biology is different from ours," Dr. Okonkwo reported, "but I can keep them stable. They need warmth, food, and care. Most of all, they need to feel safe." The crew of the Horizon's Promise did something that no protocol required of them. They opened their hearts to the frightened alien children. Engineer Mike Patterson, a large man with a booming laugh, found himself sitting on the floor of the cargo bay with 3 small Thelrani clustered around him. They did not speak the same language, but when Mike pulled out a deck of cards and began doing simple magic tricks, the children forgot their fear for a moment. Their large silver eyes grew wide with wonder as cards appeared and disappeared in his calloused hands. Lieutenant Chun discovered that one of the older Thelrani children loved mathematics. She spent hours teaching him human number games, and he taught her the Thelrani counting system in return. They laughed together over their mistakes, forming a bond that crossed a vast distance between their species. The smallest child, a girl no more than 5 years old by human standards, would not stop crying. She had watched her mother seal the door between them, choosing death so her daughter could live. Nothing seemed to comfort her until Commander Vasquez, who had lost her own mother young, sat beside her and began to hum a soft lullaby. The melody needed no translation. The little Thelrani girl curled against Elena's side and slowly fell asleep, her tiny blue fingers wrapped around the commander's hand. Word of the rescue spread quickly through the galaxy. The Thelrani government responded with suspicion at first. They sent messages demanding to know why humans had interfered with a Thelrani vessel. They accused the crew of the Horizon's Promise of violating territorial boundaries and threatened consequences. Captain Webb responded with a simple message and a video file. The message said only, "We found children who needed help. We helped them. Here is what we found." The video showed the damaged transport, the bodies of the brave Thelrani adults who had given everything for their children, and the moment when the first child was brought safely aboard the human ship. It showed Mike doing card tricks while 3 little Thelrani giggled. It showed Lieutenant Chun and her new student counting together in 2 languages. It showed the smallest child sleeping peacefully in Commander Vasquez's arms. The Therani government went silent for 3 days. When they finally responded, it was not the cold, formal communication humans had grown used to receiving. The message came from High Counselor Vethara herself, the leader of the Therani collective. "We've watched your people from afar for 20 years, she said, her silver eyes shining on the view screen. "We saw your weapons and your conflicts. We saw the darkness in your history. We judged you as dangerous, as a species to be kept at distance." She paused, and Marcus saw something he had never expected to see on a Therani face: tears. "We did not see your compassion. We did not see that when faced with suffering children, your first instinct was not to calculate advantage, but to run toward the pain and offer healing. We were wrong about you." The Horizon's promise was escorted to the Therani homeworld with full honors, something no human vessel had ever received. The children were returned to their families, but the bonds they had formed with their human rescuers did not break. The smallest girl, whose name was Kira, refused to let go of Commander Vasquez's hand when her grandmother came to collect her. The old Therani woman knelt down and asked her granddaughter something in her language. Kira responded with a stream of words, gesturing at Elena and mimicking the humming of a lullaby. The grandmother stood slowly and faced Elena. "My granddaughter says you have a singing heart. She says you chased away the dark dreams." She reached out and took Elena's other hand. "In our culture, one who guards a child's dreams becomes family. You will always be welcome among us, singer of lullabies." Similar scenes played out across the capital city as each child was reunited with their relatives. Mike Patterson found himself invited to a Therani home for a meal, where he performed card tricks for 3 generations of one family. Lieutenant Chen exchanged contact information with her mathematics student, promising to continue their lessons across the stars. High Counselor Vethar requested a private meeting with Captain Webb. They sat together in her chambers, surrounded by flowering plants that glowed softly in the dim light. "I must confess something," she said. "When we first learned of your species, many of us feared you. You had such capacity for violence, such dark chapters in your past. We could not understand how a species that had done such terrible things to its own kind could ever be trusted." Marcus nodded slowly. "Our history has many shadows. We do not hide from them. That is what we fail to understand," Vethor said. "You carry your darkness with you, but you also carry something else. You carry compassion that burns like fire. When you saw suffering, you did not ask if it was wise to help. You did not calculate the cost. You simply moved toward the pain." She leaned forward. "We have been in space for 10,000 years. We have met many species. Some were kind but weak. Some were strong but cruel. Your people are something we have rarely seen. You are strong and kind at the same time. Your compassion is not weakness. It is fire." In the months that followed, everything changed between humans and Therani. Trade barriers fell. Cultural exchanges began. Therani students traveled to human universities, and human researchers were welcomed into Therani laboratories. But the most important change happened in the hearts of ordinary people on both sides. A Therani merchant who had always refused to deal with humans found herself sharing a meal with a human family after her transport broke down near their settlement. They fed her, fixed her ship, and refused any payment. She returned home and told everyone she knew that humans were good people. A human diplomat who had struggled for years to open dialogue with the Therani found himself overwhelmed with invitations. Every message referenced the same thing: 12 children, 1 rescue, and the video that had shown the galaxy what humanity really was. Other species took notice. The cold and calculating Vorthan, who had dismissed humans as irrelevant, began to reconsider. The ancient Malori, who remembered when the Therani themselves were a young species, watched with great interest. The humans are different, a Mallory elder observed in a council meeting. They do not help others because it brings them advantage. They help because they cannot bear to see suffering and do nothing. This is a rare quality, perhaps the rarest quality in all the universe. Years passed. Kira grew into a young woman, and true to her grandmother's word, she maintained her connection to Commander Vasquez. Elena had retired from military service by then, but she never missed one of Kira's birthday celebrations. She had learned to sing Thorani lullabies, and Kira had learned every human song Elena knew. When Kira came of age and chose her life path, she shocked her people by announcing that she would become a diplomat. Not just any diplomat. She would specialize in human-Thelrani relations. "The humans saved my life," she said in her acceptance speech. "But more than that, they showed me that kindness is the strongest force in the universe. A singing heart, my grandmother called it. I will spend my life building bridges between our peoples, because that is what the humans did for me when I was small and afraid and alone." The galaxy continued to change. More species opened their doors to humanity. Some still feared the human capacity for violence, but that fear was now balanced by stories of human kindness. A human ship had crossed hostile territory to bring medicine to a dying world. Human engineers had worked for months to save an alien city from a natural disaster. Human teachers had volunteered to work in schools on planets far from home. And always, when other species asked why humans did these things, the answer was the same. It was not for advantage. It was not for glory. It was simply because humans could not look away from suffering. Decades after the rescue, a great gathering was held on a Thorani homeworld. Representatives from dozens of species came together to sign a new accord, one that would bind them all in mutual protection and cooperation. It was the largest alliance in galactic history. Ambassador Kira of the Thorani stood at the podium, her silver eyes shining. Behind her was a banner displaying the symbol of the new alliance, a flame surrounded by gentle hands. "Many years ago," she said, "I was a frightened child, floating in a broken ship, waiting to die. Humans came for me. They did not know me. They owed me nothing. They risked diplomatic problems and crossed vast distances simply because a child was in danger." She paused and looked at the gathered representatives. "That is the fire we celebrate today. Not the fire of destruction, but the fire of compassion. The fire that burns in the human heart and has spread to warm us all." In the audience, an elderly Elena Vasquez wiped tears from her eyes. Beside her sat Marcus Webb, his hair now white but his spirit unchanged. Around them sat representatives of species that had once feared humanity and now called them friends. The alliance was signed. The galaxy entered a new era of cooperation. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that humans had always known, but the galaxy had been slow to learn. Compassion was not weakness. It was the strongest force in the universe. And when kindled by human hearts, it could warm even the coldest corners of space. The fire of compassion, once lit, could never be extinguished. It only spread from heart to heart, from world to world, until the entire galaxy glowed with its light. The end.